let me tell you, for this article, for this segment, nothing, absolutely nothing says let's have a proper discussion about cultural sensitivity and gender understanding, quite like a cis straight white guy telling what people should and should not wear as a costume. So, for this article, which of course from BuzzFeed, uh, shows some of the more colorful costumes, and it starts off with a little girl dressed up as Anne Frank, and pretty much snowballs from there. Now, look, some people will say, "Oh, it's a joke. It's all in good fun. It's we're not
No.
actually this, that, and the other thing." But there really is a point where you got to say, no, no, we're not going to do that because it does glorify something that's terrible. Or in the case of you know white people doing blackface, um, and I'm going to be let me get a little real here on this one, because I think I almost get it. I think I almost get it. I can't say that I fully get it, but I feel like the offense comes from, and Cynthia, feel free to fully correct me on this one.
Okay.
That it's because of the history, because of white people enslaving black people in our history, beating, murdering, and all that, and then Jim Crow laws. That you know it's like we're saying, okay, we're using our privilege to not only do this to you through history, but we're just going to have a good old fun time and then just be you. Am I kind of in the ballpark there?
A bit. It goes a little bit further than that, specifically with blackface. Back in the, I want to say like late 19th century, early 20th century, we had minstrel shows, and those were mostly white men portraying black people by dressing up and mimicking them in the most heinous ways for profit.
Mhm.
They people actually got like famous, and they toured and made money, and basically what they were doing is they were making fun of the slaves who were newly emancipated at the time, and also just like black people that was in that area with the most profane stereotypes that one could possibly think of, and even making up some new ones on the way. So that is definitely a dark chapter of history, of American history, rather. Insert CRT right here, where we are, and we actually see another inception of this particular thing happening, and it happens a lot oftentimes around this time. And I'm kind of disappointed that we even have to have this conversation about, no pun intended, what not to wear.
I mean, and this was another thing I found. I found the link on Huffington Post, and I don't know if it's going to make it in the description or not. But uh, a number of years ago, there was a 7-year-old uh, who made the news. More the mom made the news, and she had absolutely no problems. Didn't see any problems with dressing up her kid in a KKK costume. And this was 2017. Okay, this wasn't like you know 50, 60, 70 years ago. This was in our backyard
Wow.
that this happened. And it's, oh no, it's about our culture. Oh really? Really, you want to go that route?
Yeah, not the
I don't
culture you
think
should
so.
be proud of.
Exactly.
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 Fucking idiots.
My
Uh,
sentiments exactly. Go ahead,
there, are,
Noel.
there are plenty of options for costumes out there, like literally millions that don't, appropriate or sexualize or whatever, along those lines. There are tons of them out there. I'm wearing one.
A very wonderful
Jason's wearing
costume.
one. August
I
is wearing
mean,
one.
this could be
Cynthia's wearing
considered a
one.
little offensive because of who I
If you're
am,
a
what
priest.
I believe, and I'm not. So
You have a
call this a
pass.
gray
We all
area.
have a pass. We all have a
Yeah,
pass.
but I
It's
think you're
okay.
more of speaking on the religion and not the person, which is I think something we always try to say to
Right.
people is whenever we talk about religion negatively, we're not talking about you as an individual, we're talking about the religion, and they can't
Sure.
seem to separate that. So
Right, exactly. It's about it's the idea, not the person, right? Like I can totally respect you as an individual. I respect, your right, and I even respect your right to your speech, right? Even if I don't agree. But I don't have to respect your ideologies. And
Exactly.
that's the difference. Yeah. Yeah. You want to expand a bit more, August? Because I know you have notes.
yeah, so in terms of the Anne Frank costume, I could see how someone could argue, well, it's just a cute little costume. Maybe they even want to touch on the Holocaust and things of that such. But I think, this is child murder, this is child genocide, this is genocide in general, and there are still Holocaust survivors today, and also people who are alive now who had immediate family members or close friends who passed away in the Holocaust as well. So I just think
Right
it's
here.
insensitive to them. Yeah, exactly. There we go. I just think it's really insensitive to them to dress up, and especially in the article, the way the little girl was posing, and it feels wrong to me at my core, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
As it should.
It really should. And I mean, like, I personally don't want to see people dressed up like slaves for Halloween. I really don't want to see that. Even though, like, it's important to know about, this point in history, about slavery, chattel slavery, and things of that nature. But
Better
to
ways to bring that
yeah,
up.
yeah, exactly. Not at a Halloween costume party. You know, I pulled an article, and this was from the Insider that actually had like different people, celebrities, and like some of the really really bad costumes that they actually wore.
You
Let's
like my
see.
prime minister?
Yeah, he was one.
Yeah.
He was one, and even though I know that's like Obama's bro, but still, really, like really, guy, come on now.
Yeah,
This is like, I don't know, it's like kind of crazy. Like I think that one of the oh my goodness, this would be so nice if this actually like could open for me.
I tell you one thing though, as
Go
bad as that
ahead.
Anne Frank costume is, they could have added one little detail that would have made it a whole lot worse.
Oh
Mm.
yeah, for sure. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Just yeah. So it's like, okay, we're gonna go really, really bad, but not what is anybody thinking bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
I still think it's
exactly.
undeniable that that's Anne Frank, though.
Right. I mean, like,
Even without this symbol, I think it's still.
yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. I'm thinking about a certain movie that made me very sad that I could only watch once. That it's still it's still in poor taste, and it's not like you're going to have to like guess to know what this costume is and what it symbolized. I mean, like, unless you're living under a rock. So it's just something that just not should be done. But like but when some of the other list of like what some other people actually wore in bad taste, Julianne Hough dressed as Crazy Eyes one year, from Orange is the New Black. No, don't ever do that again. I think that Shaun White, this snowboarder, dressed up as a caricature of a person with disabilities, a simple Jack. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Chris Brown, who is an amazing dancer, decided one year to dress up like a terrorist.
Yeah,
Don't
but he's
do
not a
that.
good person anyway.
No, he's not. I mean, I'll give you your dancing prowess, but that's where it stops. That's where it definitely stops. And I'm just like, Heidi Klum dressed up like Shiva. Oh, I'm sorry, the goddess Kali, from the Hindu goddess. So that's like cultural appropriation again, in really bad taste. And I really wish that people will actually start to think before they actually put on these particular costumes or shop for their costumes or put stuff together before they decide to go outside the house. I'm
Or
just
putting their
saying.
kids in certain things. Because,
Yeah.
again, a little bit further down, what do you have? A kid in a Confederate officer's costume. And it's like,
Mm.
oh, good. Let's teach hate from the beginning.
And
I mean, okay, I'm
newsflash.
come from a state where, we actually know how to win the Civil War. So that's kind of where.
Well, yeah, I was about to say newsflash, you lost.
Yeah.
But continue what we're going to say, Jason.
No, just that, it's absolutely that. Oh, okay. The parents are just going to dress them up in this hate. It's like, it's our culture. Your culture was owning people.
Yeah.
You want to own that as your culture? No.
Yeah, that part.
Your culture of being a loser and being racist and horrific, that's the culture you want to preserve? Why not sweet tea and, the other things the South stands for?
Hummingbird cake. I don't eat it. It's very sweet, but still, some people like it. And lemonade, that cool, refreshing drink. I mean, that's fine too. Sitting on the veranda and humming, nice songs, but not that. That's not something that should be celebrated or supported. And I don't know. Like, I personally just want to say to people, like, if you think your costume is going to be offensive, 9 times out of 10 most likely is going to be offensive. But yeah, Neil, I want to hear a bit more from you about this whole thingy. I know that's a technical term.
The thingy part, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They did mention something, like you can see some of the pictures in this article. One of the ones that says like the sexy scout girl or whatever costume. I'm pretty sure they're not aiming that at kids.
Right.
No.
Right. That's probably, you're not going to find that in the kids section at the costume store. I'm pretty sure that one's for adults.
Yeah.
So I think that's one that you don't really have to worry so much about for kids. But yeah,
I think the idea behind it, though, is that you're sexualizing a perceived age group. And so, like, oh, Squirrel Girl, you're
in this particular, yeah.
And that's where the idea of the offensive idea comes from, is like, well, okay, yeah, you're not sexualizing an actual younger girl, but I don't know too many, not that I'm looking, I don't know too many 18-year-old Girl Scouts,
Right.
18 or above. Sure. They're probably, moms who help out with Girl Scouts, but they're not in the uniform.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And I mean, like, I don't necessarily think there's like anything wrong with, wanting to do like the sexy costume or things of that nature. I don't want to, kink shame anybody. But there's still a line, right? I mean, like,
absolutely.
You don't necessarily want to like portray something that is usually for a young person, a child, and try to sexualize it. I mean, because again, that is in poor taste. And it could possibly denote other things, right? Especially when you think about like child abuse, pedophilia, things of that nature. I mean, you just don't do that. You just don't do that. Yeah.
And that could quite possibly fan those flames too, right? So
Exactly. Yeah, because like there's been so many different, especially as of late, and we covered a lot of those stories in the nonprofits when we actually talked about children, young adults, young
Mhm.
teenagers, and things of that nature that have been in like religious settings and have been, physically and sexually abused, mentally abused, things of that
Mhm.
nature, and and a lot of these things could be traumas and triggers for them when they're seeing like someone who wants to go ahead and don this particular costume and think it's like all tongue in cheek and fun, and it's really
And
not.
let's face it too. I'll guarantee you that everyone here in this show right now probably knows someone that's been in that position too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Most definitely. Most definitely. Well, I think that we want to go ahead and then just wrap this particular segment up. So let's get some final thoughts. Jason, you brought us into it. Take us out of it.
Well, I think we've done much on the uh, racial aspect of it, and one thing I want to say is like as far as the sexy costumes are concerned, my kink is not your kink. In most cases, that's okay. Because these costumes, they can be ridiculous, they can be fun, they can be, but when you are trying to perceive yourself as being something younger, glorifying that underage sexiness that some people might feel, it's like no, we're done with that. We can just not have that.
Indeed. Neil.
Yeah, I agree with Jason there. I think there's enough choices out there where we don't really have to resort to a shitty costume like that.
Indeed. Not do not resort to shitty costumes.
Speaking of which, I got these great vampire fangs I'm going to put in for because I'm going to be the first vampire. See? Uh, oh, I might have misread the label. They could be walrus fangs. I don't know.
6 of one, half a dozen of another.
They only come in twos. Sorry.
They're only coming twos. And last but not least, August, what are your final thoughts?
Yeah, so I guess I'm just going to kind of expand off of what the other two said. I think choosing a costume that is, many of these are undeniably wrong, I think, and unethical. I think it shows ignorance, lack of empathy, and really just a lack of creativity. Like, you couldn't come up with anything better. You couldn't come up with anything that didn't make fun or diminish people's struggles. Like, you it's a lack of creativity.
Indeed, indeed. And I echo all of your sentiments and raise you I think this needs to be a point of self reflection. When looking to buy or make a costume, if you pause and think if this could be offensive, again, like I said before, most likely it is. But in the words of one television doctor, common sense ain't so common.